I'm Joey Raggio. I'm doing a leadership project for Miss Carmen Yea's class, and I'm here interviewing. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Officer Morris, with the employee of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I've been a member of Jacksonville Sheriff's Office for a little bit over 13 years. I worked at Florida State Prison several years prior to that, and since I've been at the Sheriff's Office, I have worked in several departments, mostly patrol. I've worked at the correctional facility, Duval Detention Facility, and I've actually was an undercover narcotics detective for some time. I'm currently a patrol officer on the west side of Jacksonville. That's pretty much my work history.
Thank you. I'm just gonna jump right into the questions. Do juveniles commit more crime at school than in other places?
My experience with juvenile crime is not that they commit the crimes at school. My experience, along with some statistics that I've pulled up here, most of the crimes are committed from the time frame that they get out of school prior to their parents coming home. There are crimes that do commit at school. We actually have a police department, not school board police department, that handle the crimes that occur on school grounds. The type of crimes you'll get on school grounds are mostly minor, small thefts, petty thefts, iPods, cell phones, things of that nature. The other crimes that would be committed by juveniles around the school time hours would be fights at bus stops and things of that nature in the time frame, again, on the way home, the trip from school to the house, when there's no supervision prior to the parents returning from work.
Okay. Do you think the schools are being proactive to help stop teen crime?
I haven't seen a lot of proactivity from the schools in my experience. What we do have in place a lot of is programs that the schools reach out to the state attorney's office in order to use different diversion programs. I know there are a bunch of therapy type programs where if a child commits certain crimes on school, that they'll divert them to therapy. I know, especially with the elementary age children, there's not a whole lot that schools can do. Excuse me. There's not a whole lot that they can do, but their hands are pretty much tied, and that's why they use these outside agencies like the state attorney's office and things like that to try to help with the crimes. With the sheriff's office, we do have groups that go to the schools, with the McGruff program and things like that, that they try to talk to the children. We have a community affairs division, that's what they do, and they work directly with the school with things like that, and we'll do events like the Say No to Drugs events and things like that throughout the year, where we try to work with them. But I don't see a lot from the schools as far as being proactive. It's the outside agencies trying to assist them with the different programs available.
What specific time of day do juveniles commit most of the crime?
Well, like we talked about in the first question, it depends on whether school's in session or it's summer break, Christmas break. During the school year, again, most of the crimes committed by juveniles are usually between that school letting out to the time mom and dad comes home, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And again, that's based off of lack of supervision. Whenever the school's on summer break or Christmas break, we tend to have more of a crime trend later on in the evening. They don't have to go to bed to get ready for school in the morning, things like that. So we have a more of a crime trend with auto burglaries and things like that when kids have nothing to do, and there's a couple of his buddies, and they're walking through neighborhoods breaking into cars and things like that. So to answer your question, during school times, usually between that after school to mom and dad coming home period, 3 to 6, summer break, more in the evening, 10 to midnight, the curfew hours.
What age most likely will a teen commit crime?
From what I've looked statistically, I've put up, they say that the most common age bracket for teenage crime is between 10 and 17 years old.
What is the most committed crime?
Misdemeanor, and again, these are all based off things that I've looked up. The most committed misdemeanor crime would be assault and battery, which is fighting. Assault, saying, threatening to do harm against a person, battery, actually committing that crime and doing the harm against them. Those are both misdemeanor crimes. And more on the felony level, the most common juvenile crime is actually burglaries, breaking into someone's car or residence and committing a theft once inside the residence.
What cultural background do the juveniles have in common?
I haven't experienced a whole lot, and I haven't found anything really statistically that shows a huge cultural significance. My experience is it doesn't matter race, it doesn't matter your how wealthy the family is or how poor the family is. I haven't seen a lot of that. I think a lot of your crime trends, when talking about cultural differences, is different types of crimes. A kid that's wealthy and well-to-do, comes from a family with money, they're going to commit crimes, just different crimes than someone coming from a family that is, doesn't, a lower income bracket. And it's the same with race-based crimes. You have the different races conduct different types of crimes. Not necessarily less crimes committed, just different crimes being committed.
Are juveniles more likely to use a weapon during their crime committed?
Not necessarily. Usually, it's very rare that we have a juvenile crime where a weapon is used. Some of your more serious crimes, your murder, some of your aggravated batteries, things like that. Of course, there has to be a weapon for that to be an element of the crime. But most of the juvenile crimes that we deal with, burglaries and things like that, and even the fighting, they're on a misdemeanor level. Assault and battery means that there is no weapon. So the highest rate of crimes for for those age groups are non-violent crimes, so there would be no weapons.
Is juvenile crime becoming more of a problem in the USA?
Professionally, I haven't seen a decrease in juvenile crime. Statistically, yes. Statistics show that in every bracket for talk to juvenile crime, the numbers are decreasing. Those numbers are skewed a little bit, and the reason they're skewed is, whenever you read statistics and it talks about juvenile crime, it talks about arrests made and prosecutions. Okay, once you make an arrest, they go through the court case, and then the state attorney and the courts decide whether or not to prosecute or drop the charges, what have you. The numbers are all coming down statistically, but what happens is those numbers are skewed due to the fact that there are more programs involved now. We have juvenile NTAs, which is a notice to appear. With a notice to appear, I wouldn't actually constitute an arrest. I would give you a citation, and you would come back to court within 30 days or whatnot. So that number would come down. We have civil citations now. There are certain criteria that have to be met with a civil citation, and the big thing on that is the victim of the crime has to decline restitution. Restitution meaning if I steal from you, I have to pay you back. So with these elements, there's less people prosecuting juveniles, which makes them eligible for these certain programs. And the programs are more based off rehabilitation as opposed to punishment and restitution for the victims. So to answer your question, yes, the numbers are coming down, but that's due to other programs and alternative programs, diversion programs that the children are being entered into, as opposed to sending them to jail.
Should all young accomplices of crime go to juvenile jail for what they saw?
Well, when you're dealing with an accomplice, okay, and basically let's define that. An accomplice is someone that actually witnessed the crime or knows about the crime, okay. If you're with a friend and a friend commits a crime and he's either told you about it or you were there and witnessed it, then that would bring you into that bracket, that category of being an accomplice. Okay, what we would try to initially do is use you as a witness to get the evidence and get the things that we need so that we can actually build the case off of the suspect, the offender. Now, if you don't want to tell on your friend and all of that, which is what we normally run into, then we have other things that we can do too, and there is an actual crime of interfering with investigation. So me as a police officer, if I was to interview this witness that knows the details of the crime and he didn't want to give me that information, then that would in turn turn him into an accomplice, and I could actually make an arrest based off of him interfering with my investigation. And we use those tactics a little bit to try to encourage them to do the right thing and give us the information we need to finish investigating that crime.
How much are the parents to blame of their kids if their kids became juvenile criminals?
It depends. That's kind of a large question. From my experience, I've done this for 13 years. I've seen a lot of parents that are actually trying to raise their kids, that are actually putting time and effort into raising their kids, and you have what the state calls an ungovernable child, okay? And that's a kid that no matter what mom and dad does, no matter how many times they're grounded or whatever the case may be, they're still going to go out and commit crimes or violate curfew or, not go to school and become truancy violations. There's still things no matter how hard the parents try. And it comes down to, you have to have a good home foundation. Okay, there have to be parents at home, and we run into this a lot of times where there aren't parents at home also. We get a kid out after curfew, we try to take them home, and mom and dad aren't there. They're out at a club or, they're doing whatever they're doing, and we don't have anyone to answer for that child, so they're running free. I know here the state has actually put a lot into place now with punishing the parent in lieu of the child. For example, curfew violators. If you're called out after curfew, we don't actually take a punishment against you. Okay, what we do if you violate our curfew policy, which curfew is 11 o'clock on Sunday through Thursday and 12 o'clock on Friday and Saturday. If you violate our curfew policy, what we do is we give your parent a court date, and when they go to court, they have to pay $130, and they have to spend one of their weekends in either community service or Planned Parenting class. So the state has had so much problems with parents being accountable for their children that now they put these things into place to where they're going to take money from them and take their time so that they will now put more emphasis on actually raising the children. That program is fairly new, so as far as getting statistics to show if it's working at this point, we don't have those yet. By the time you're in high school, ask me this question again, and we'll probably have a little more accurate numbers on it. But it all comes back to you have to have a good foundation at home. If you don't have that, then you're going to see more juvenile offenders coming from